friends, I'm Liz.
I'm Robbie. Welcome back to our channel Bookworm Couple. Today we are going to do another wrap-up and TBR as it is the end of May already and we are looking forward to June.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, kind of crazy. May felt really quick, but now it feels like the beginning of May was a really long time ago.
Yeah.
Took me a minute to be like, what did I read this month?
What am I? Who am I? Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Yeah, what's going on?
Anyway.
But otherwise, yeah, so we put out 2 other videos this month. Slow month for us.
It was, yeah.
Pretty slow month, but we also were both sick halfway through this month, so not as much time to record and stuff like that, just trying to get better. But we did put out 2 videos. The first video we put out this month was The Heroes of Olympus, which is the first book in the... The first video we put out this month was The Lost Hero, which is the first book in the Heroes of Olympus series. There we go. I got there eventually. And they knew what I was talking about. Yeah. And, you know, this is our first foray into the second Riordanverse series, I guess. And, you know, there were some... It was a bit of a wobbly start, I think. But for the most part, I enjoyed my time.
I liked some things and I was kind of bored.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I
believe you gave it a 3 or 3.5.
Sounds right.
And I gave it a 4. I liked the ending. I think there's a lot of potential.
Yeah.
I have read it before, but only once, so I really don't
remember
a ton of what happens.
So
it'll be nice. It'll be like reading it for the first time, which I'm excited for. But yeah, it was mostly I mostly enjoyed it, but it just felt overlong. Which it's about 200 pages longer than the original Percy Jackson books. And I understand why, you know, the characters aged up a little bit. It's a little bit more of an intense book, I guess, but it just felt like it could have stayed the same length as the original Percy Jackson books. That was my main issue with it, the pacing and the length.
More serious and more romance.
There was a lot more romance, which I enjoyed.
I did too. No, I thought it was cute. It was very, like, of the age. Like, it felt very, like, of that age, of being that age.
Yes,
like,
it was very romantic, I thought. I thought it was great. And I like all 3 of the new main POV characters, which I'm excited to jump into the next book in that series today, actually. And we should be getting you the video for the next book in the series, Son of Neptune, I believe, next week. So I'm excited to jump back in there. After that, we released our Kingdom of Ash video, the final book in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. It really feels like a momentous occasion. I know it's not the first series that we finished on this channel. That was Percy Jackson.
But that was a big one.
But it feels big for me.
And it's the first one that you read on your own.
That is true. That is true.
I'll finish a little time in 2 years, but
yeah,
you know,
a very long time now. But it felt. Yeah, it feels good to have finally finished that, especially since I did start the series a long time ago when it was originally being released. So it feels like it's been quite the journey. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I think it was a triumphant finish to this series. I think it was exactly what I kind of imagined it would be.
Yeah.
Did I have issues with it? Yeah, of course I did. Did they get in the way of my enjoyment of the book? No, they didn't. And I think that that's like kind of a common misconception, especially of you. But anytime, if I have an issue with the book, that doesn't mean it's going to ruin the book for me. I take that into account with all the other things about the book that I enjoyed, and I think that the book was a perfect example of how to round out that series.
Yeah. Gorgeous.
Yeah, it was exciting.
Yeah, you're excited.
Oh, thanks. That's nice of you.
Okay.
Feeling very romantic today ourselves, are we? But did you get to read anything on your own?
I did.
Oh my gosh.
Hence why I feel like I've read less for the channel and more for my soul. I read the 3rd book in the Bridgerton series, An Offer from a Gentleman. This was Benedict's book, and I loved it. I loved it. I read this very quickly. I love Benedict. I think he's such a brilliant character, just kind of like a ball of sunshine, like a silly goose, but in a lovely romantic way. And Sophie, his counterpart in this book, is lovely. The story is kind of like a Cinderella retelling, which I always love. It very much gave me Ever After vibes, which is one of my favorites. I love Ever After. Hence why I loved this book. It was a really easy read. It was really intriguing. I had so much fun with this one. I read a book in the Briar U series by Elle Kennedy.
Briar U?
Briar U. Briar University.
Okay. All right, sure.
The place that they go to school. I've read everything else in the Off-Campus series. This is the last...
What's it called?
Off-Campus?
No, the book itself.
The Risk.
The Risk.
Yeah. So this is book 2 in the Briar Year series, The Risk. I love these little one-off hockey romances.
Oh,
They're
that's
so
what they
fun.
are. I was like,
one day
oh,
I'm gonna
I've
get you
never
to
heard
read
of
one
this.
and you're gonna hate it. It's gonna be
Great.
lovely. For me, I love them. They're great, like palate cleansers between other books. It's fun if you just want like an easy romance. Like you don't have to think about it. It's not the most elevated prose. It's not elevated prose at all. It's just a delightful little read. Very, very sexy, very spicy. I will say in most of her books that I've read thus far, I would definitely check out what it's about. There are definitely a lot of triggery subjects in the books. There's a lot of drama, and quite often it gets into very heavy emotional matter. But I love them. I had so much fun. I love a sexy hockey romance. I love to pepper these in whenever I can. They're really fun. I think Elle Kennedy does a great job. She's a phenomenal, sexy writer. So that's what I read this month.
Awesome.
Yeah. What about you? So many pages.
Yeah, I read 4 books on my own this month, and I think that's correct. I don't know, I was editing last month's wrap-up, and I realized I just, like, did the math on how many books I read completely wrong, so,
Yeah, been there.
you know, your mileage may
Like,
vary.
it was
We're talking
14
about
books.
books, not math, and there's
Yeah,
a reason
no.
for that. Anyway,
Wordsmith.
yeah, so I continued my journey with the Dandelion Dynasty to start off this month. I had started reading the second book in the series, The Wall of Storms, in April, and I finished it mid-May. It's taken me a lot longer to get through these books than
They're
I
8 long
originally
pages.
expected. Well, I mean, the last 2 are.
Yeah.
The first one was not that long, and didn't take me that long to get through, but the second one was like 800 pages, and it took me quite a long time to get through. I think it was 800. Anyway, so this is, like, as I said, the second book. If you remember from me either in watching my micro review or talking about this last month, the first book in the Dandelion Dynasty series kind of covers the history leading up to the main story of the series as opposed to the main story of the series itself, which is a very interesting way to start off a series. So this was much more, where that book was very, very zoomed out and a lot of things were happening very, very quickly. There is still a lot of stuff that happens in this book, but it is much more kind of, I guess, normal, like you're really getting more into the minutia of the characters and things like that. And these books are great. I loved this book. It's phenomenal. It went in a bunch of directions I didn't really expect. I think Ken Liu is an unbelievable writer. I know that he's known very much for like his short stories and things like that, but this is incredible just to see what he can do with a full-length novel. And it's really hard to describe this series because so many things happen, and I also don't want to give away like the main conceit of kind of the point of the series. Well, not the point, but one of the major plot points of the series. So I'll just say that a lot of the characters some of my favorite characters from the first book went down paths that I really did not see for them, though in hindsight I probably should have. And the way that you will commit to having a character go on their path, it's fascinating. The number of themes that he manages to squeeze into these books is crazy, and I'm going to talk about the next book a little bit later as well, because I read it to finish off the month. It's a fascinating combination of prose that uses a lot of big words, but I don't feel like is really dense. Like, I have to look up a lot of words while I'm reading it, but I don't feel like it's too dense. It's just the themes of it are what make it kind of, it is approachable, but it's just like what you're reading makes you think and takes time to kind of absorb. So even if I can read it pretty quickly, I kind of like can't focus on it as long as I'm used to, I guess, because there's too many things that are going on. Also, it's some of the characters are like the most frustrating. But anyway, it's awesome. And I think if you've been reading fantasy for a while, this is something that you should check out because it's just different than a lot of the other stuff I've read. There's, like I said, there's a ton of themes. I mean, some of the biggest ones are how different cultures can coexist. Interestingly, something I didn't really notice in the beginning, but I've been noticing as I'm getting towards the end, the back half of the series, I guess, is the inherent value and shortcomings of both oral history and written history, and the positives and negatives there, which is very interesting. I don't think I've ever read a book where the written word is presented as maybe not enough or the best way to pass down our history. I think it's more about showing that there is no perfect way, but it's really fascinating. Anyway, I've talked about this book for too long. The next book that I read was The Gate of the Feral Gods, which is the 5th book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series? The 4th book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. I love these books. They're great. They make me smile. They're so stupid, and yeah, I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. Oh, I gave the Wallace Storms 5 out of 5 stars, but I gave Gate of the Gods 4 out of 5 stars. You know, this is just another level in the dungeon that Carl and Princess Donut the cat are continuing to crawl through. This book I enjoyed. It sets up a lot of stuff and starts really letting us know about what the crawlers can expect on the future floors, which is very exciting. However, there were a lot of moving pieces here, and whereas the last one was like a big puzzle and there were a lot of moving pieces and I didn't really feel like I needed to be able to follow everything that was happening, the thing that happened here was there were a ton of new characters introduced, and a lot of them didn't feel necessary at any point in the book. And so I didn't love that, which is why I didn't give it a 5 out of 5 stars, but otherwise, again, always super entertaining reads, and I can't recommend it enough. If you've never read a lit RPG, you cannot go wrong with this. After that, I read The Well of Ascension, which is the second book in the Mistborn Era 1 trilogy, and I had a blast with this. This is my reread, yes. This is my reread, and I had a lot of fun with this. It started off slower than I expected, even though I have read it before. It's just been a long time. But the last quarter of the book is crazy, and I know what happens again. So I still couldn't put it down. So I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. It was more political than I remember it being, especially with Elend or however you say his name, watching him struggle to lead a people, which I thought was very interesting, and I also really enjoyed Vin from the get-go here. I liked the journey that she went on and watching her character kind of deal with her own trauma while also trying to find her own identity. So yeah, I'm really just excited to get to the next one, which I barely remember at all, and then jump into Mistborn Era 2, which I've never read before, which will be really exciting, though I've heard a lot of mixed things about, so we'll see. And then I finished off the month with The Veiled Throne, which is the third book in the Dandelion Dynasty. This book took me a really long time to read. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. I think it's my least favorite of the 3 I've read so far. However, it is part 1 of what should have been one giant book. It's 1,000 pages long. And the next book is also 1,000 pages long. So it was supposed to be like a 2,000 page, 700,000 word book.
Being able to write that much. Like, imagine having that many ideas.
I just thought it was really interesting because I've read books like that before, but like as soon as you finish the book, you get like the author's note at the end. Like the first sentence in the author's note for The Veiled Throne is, this and Speaking Bones, which are the last 2 books, are supposed to be one whole. They were conceived as one large volume, and they should be read as such. And so I was kind of anticipating. Well, that was the thing. Is I was kind of anticipating being like, I'm going to take a break because this book is a lot. And then I was like, well, now I feel like I can't. So I'm actually a third of the way into Speaking Bones, which is the final book in the series. I haven't actually even recorded my micro review for The Veiled Throne yet, which I need to do, but this book was good, but it did feel a little bit like I think you could tell that it was not a completed volume. It feels like it does a ton of setup, so it's interesting to try and rate it because I feel like I could change my views and my feelings about this book in hindsight based on how I feel about this last book, and based on the fact that I'm a third of the way through the next book, I can kind of tell what the vibe is, and I do think I will look back more kindly on The Veiled Throne. I struggled to get through this partially because like I said, it's really dense, and some of the characters and the way that they act and the way that the themes are explored makes me think and feel things, which is what you're going for when you're reading books. Sometimes frustrated me and made it difficult for me to continue reading, and it's hard to go into that more without going into very specific details, which I don't want to do for spoiler reasons. But yeah, I mean, it continued this incredible exploration of themes, and even though it's a 1,000-page long book, it feels like it crammed more than that into those pages. It almost feels like it wasn't even long enough to cram all of the ideas that he was trying to feed you as the reader, and that's fascinating. And also just because I feel like every review mentions this, most fantasy books, the last quarter, the last third, are usually like a big battle sequence or something very high stakes. The last, third of this book, again, so that's 300 pages, is a cooking competition.
High stakes?
High stakes. It actually really is.
I love that.
And also, and that's part of why I think the main problem with this book was pacing issues, because he's introducing brand new characters, amazing characters, but brand new characters in like the last third of this book, and then spends the entire part of it giving us a bunch of setup for them so that they can go off and do things that are relevant to the larger plot, which is obviously not going to be finished off until the end of the last book. So I can tell already, having started the last book, that it's the entire book. I'm kind of moving through it very quickly because the entire book seems to be mostly finishing up plot lines. So it's very fast-paced, very high stakes, whereas this book was opening up a bunch of them and kind of showing where a lot of different things are going to go. And yeah, this is one of the most unique reading experiences I've had in this genre, and I'm really glad I am reading it, and I think you should too. And I've talked way too long about it, so we're going to move on.
Go!
Anyway, what are we going to be reading next month?
More Heroes of Olympus.
Yeah, that's right. So I think that the first book video we're going to put out, I guess, is the second book in the Heroes of Olympus series, The Son of Neptune. After that...
I'm reading Crown of Swords.
You are reading Crown of Swords.
I'm reading Crown of Swords.
So that'll come out...
I keep forgetting the name of this one, because I've read... This is the 7th book in the Wheel of Time series, and they all kind of... The names have kind of all blended.
Yeah,
But Crown of Swords.
Yeah. So that'll be coming out sometime this month, hopefully, as well.
Yeah.
And then I will be starting...
You guys, I'm so nervous.
Court of Thorns and Roses, so that'll come out.
There's nothing that I love more than this series books. That's all I'll say.
Which means that I'm going to have to try hard not to
be
purposefully
honest.
be mean
No. Here's the thing.
just to see how you react.
No, you can be mean because I am very secure in my love of these books.
Based on the way you're reacting right now, no, you're not.
The reaction is more of like, I want other people to enjoy it because it gave me such joy and such life. This is my favorite series I've ever read. It's one of the only series that I've read multiple times. I don't like rereading books very often, and this is just, I love it so much, and it honestly changed my life. And so it's like, I get really excited for people to read it.
High praise.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, so it's just like, I love it so much.
Really trying to pump my expectations up?
No. I'm saying this is my personal journey with it. Because I have had plenty of conversations with people who didn't like it. And that's cool. I'm not trying to make you like it. If you don't like it, great. That's fine. It's mine. Like, I don't need you to like it.
That's fine. I'll just kill you.
That's fine. You can leave. No, it's also a thing of like, because I love it so much, I don't really need anyone else's experience of it. But I do hope, my hope is that other people will feel the way that I felt about these texts because they just were such a big deal for me. So I'm very excited for you to start.
Yeah. I'm excited for me to start too, just because
of
what it is to know what everyone is talking about and see what the deal is. So that'll be coming out this month as well. Do you have any books you're going to try and read on your own this month, or is it going to be mostly Wheel of Time related?
Honestly, probably mostly Wheel of Time. Okay. I am hoping to sneak in there Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. That is the 4th book in the Bridgerton series, and that is the current season that the current season of the show focuses on this book. So I'm hoping to be able to finish it. It's I think 200-300 pages, so it shouldn't be too bad. Right. But we'll see if I can finish it within the depths of Wheel of Time. So that's the only thing I have on the list. Anything else extra? My TBR is literally never ending. People send me books all the time, so we'll see what I do. I'm a like a game time decision kind of gal recently. What about you?
I am gonna first finish the Dandelion Dynasty, which feels crazy. Yeah, so I'll finish that on my own at some point. Who knows how long that will take, though, because, as I said, it is 1,000 pages long. Then I am hoping to read, I think The Hero of Ages is the name of the 3rd book in the original Mistborn trilogy, so I will be finishing up the original Mistborn trilogy as well. A lot of finishes up for me this month. That'll be fun.
June, okay.
And then I'm sure at some point I will also read the 5th book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series, because I just can't help myself. And then I'll have to decide what series to read next. I think I have decided I'm going to read the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn trilogy by Tad Williams. I have never read anything of Tad Williams, and Tad Williams is cited as an influence on like most of the most well-known authors that are alive, and it feels kind of sad to me that I have not read any of his work, and I've been told that it's very slow and that it's it's much more classic fantasy type stuff, so I'm trying to get into the correct headspace for that. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm and I'm going into it knowing that the books are long, and that it's probably going to be a very slow start, at least. But I've heard nothing but great things, so yeah. So I'm excited to jump into that this month, assuming I have the time. I may just not have the time.
We'll see.
But we'll see. Yeah,
Fine.
that's really. I think that's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Powerful.
another month gone. Well, that's it for us. What did you read this month? What were your favorite books? If you have recommendations for us, please always throw them into this into the comments down below. We have an ever-expanding TBR. I cannot promise when or if we will get to them before we die, but we will do our best. Yeah. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and
we'll see you on our next adventure.